And in the very near future, we will be voting on a final package, a clean continuing resolution until January the 30th, and 3 bipartisan full-year appropriations bills. These bills are the military construction, VA, agriculture, and legislative branch appropriations, 3 of the 12 bills that Congress needs to pass on an annual basis. And what that means, Mr. President, is that year-long funding for SNAP, for WIC, for veterans, for essential farm programs, and for a number of other critical priorities will be met. Mr. President, I said that we will be voting on the final package in the very near future, and I'm hoping that will be hours and not days. We're on the 41st day of this shutdown. Nutrition benefits are in jeopardy. Air travel is an extremely precarious situation. Our staffs and many, many other government workers have been working for nearly 6 weeks without pay. I could spend an hour talking about all the problems we've seen, which have snowballed the longer this shutdown has gone on. But all of us, Democrat and Republican, who voted for last night's bill are well aware of the facts. And I'm grateful that the end is in sight. But I would encourage every member of this body, Democrat or Republican, pro-bill or anti-bill, not to stand in the way of our being able to deliver the coming relief quickly. The American people have suffered for long enough. Let's not pointlessly drag this bill out. Let's get it done, get it over to the House so that we can get this government open. Mr. President, as I have emphasized since being elected Majority Leader last November, I remain deeply committed to advancing full-year appropriations bills through regular order. And we've drafted this continuing resolution to extend to January 30th specifically to give us more time to get this bipartisan work done. I look forward to taking up additional appropriations bills on the floor in the near future. Mr. President, after 41 days, I'm grateful to be able to say that we are close to getting the government reopened. And again, I ask all of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, of both parties, to make it possible for us to quickly pass this bill. Mr. President, I yield the floor. I suggest the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsoo-Brooks.
Infuriating. It's not at all surprising, but it is infuriating nonetheless. The orange criminal, insurrectionist piece of shit has just pardoned a bunch of the people who helped him try to steal the 2020 election and essentially to overthrow the republic. He pardoned dozens of them, most notably Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, who is a lawyer and I believe a former law professor, who provided the I was going to say the legal basis, that none of it was legal. He provided the legal rationale for overturning the election through Congress. Now, again, not legal, but they tried to dress it up in legality. At least the part where they would have Republican members of Congress try to object to the certification of the election and to throw out electoral votes, and to have the vice president refuse to certify. Not that that's even a thing. By the way, it surprises me that people still actually believe, because I get this all the time, people still actually believe that a vice president has authority to throw out electoral votes. People tell me, people are worried about, well, even if a Democrat wins in 2028, J.D. Vance can just refuse to certify the election. That's not a thing. That's part of the whole lie of the Trump's attempt to overturn the 2020 election, trying to pressure Mike Pence to refuse to certify the election. That was never a power that he had. And think about how absurd that would be, that a sitting vice president can throw out the results of an election, especially when you consider the fact that Mike Pence was a candidate in that election. I mean, come on. There are problems with the Constitution. There are things that we should address, but the framers were not so fucking stupid as to give a sitting vice president who might also be running for re-election the power to declare himself the winner of the election, he and his running mate. Come on, right? The only authority, the vice president has no authority whatsoever. His role in the certification process is purely ceremonial. The Constitution, the only thing it says is that the vice president, who is serving as the president of the Senate at the time, the president of the Senate shall open the certificates containing the electoral votes from the states. The president of the Senate, the vice president, shall open the certificates, and then they are counted. That's it. He doesn't even get to count them. It's not even spelled out that he has the authority to count the votes, let alone decide whether to accept them. He gets to open the envelopes. That's it. Anyway, this piece of shit, John Eastman, he's the one who put forth this theory that a vice president can throw out electoral votes and we should get Republicans in Congress to object and refuse to certify. And then if you kick out enough votes, if you throw out enough of the state's electoral votes, then neither candidate will have 270 needed to win. And then the election gets to be decided by the House of Representatives. And each congressional delegation from each state's congressional delegation gets one vote. So Rhode Island gets the same as California. And because more states had a majority of Republicans in their congressional delegation, then they could have chosen Donald Trump to be president. That was the whole legal rationale. And that's what John Eastman provided. So Rudy Giuliani gets a pardon. John Eastman gets a pardon. Mark Meadows pardoned. Christina Bobb, I think that was one of Trump's fucking criminal attorneys. Not insofar as criminal defense attorneys. I mean, criminal. An attorney is a criminal. Boris Epstein and dozens of false GOP electors. They had all these phony electors from the various states who committed, they submitted forged electoral certificates to Congress claiming that they were the real electors. I mean, you had so many people committing crimes, part of this criminal conspiracy, from Donald Trump and his inner circle to people in the states, local Republican political hacks who went along with this, presented themselves as the true electors of their states when they were not. There are so many people who are involved in this massive criminal conspiracy. And, of all the things that are going on, this piece of shit being reelected, destroying this country, I think I'm even more angry. I don't know. It's hard to compare. Am I more angry about this? Am I more angry about that? I don't know. But I am as angry as I can be about the fact that Donald Trump and his criminal co-conspirators got away with their crimes, got away with trying to overthrow the republic, simply because we are surrounded in this country by blithering idiots. That makes me so freaking angry. Trying to contain my anger here. It's the morning. Members of my family are still asleep, so I'm trying to contain my fiery rage. But this is the thing that has pissed me off so much. I mean, on top of everything that this piece of shit is doing to the country, the fact that they all got away with their crimes. And why? Because tens of millions of Americans didn't even bother to show up to vote. When a man who literally tried to overthrow the republic, tried to steal an election, when all his challenges to the election failed, he intentionally summoned forth and organized a violent insurrection against his own government to try to prevent a co-equal branch of government from doing their constitutional duty in certifying an election that he lost. So he tried to sick his mob on that branch of government to prevent them from certifying the election so he could stay in power illegally, or to intimidate them to throw out illegally electoral votes from the states so that his minions in the House of Representatives could install him as president. And these pieces of shit got away with it because tens of millions of people didn't bother showing up, or because we are surrounded by such stupid people in this country that they believed the desperate and ridiculous lies from a criminal who wanted to stay out of prison, because that is what Trump was facing in the last election in 2024. He was either going to prison, more than likely, or he would be elected president. That's it. Prison or president. Imagine the desperation. And because of that desperation, and because he's a pathological liar, he lied about everything, the most ridiculous lies. But we live with such stupid people in this country that they can't see through the motivations of this man to lie. Don't even question his motivations.
Of course, they don't see through his lies. They don't see anything about his motivation. They see nothing. I have Magas in the chat talking stupid. Instead of listening, they talking stupid. That's right. He had the most uninformed electorate that he could get, and they re-elected him.
Might he be lying to me when he says he's going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours? Might he be lying to me when he says that he knows how to reduce the price of groceries starting on day one? Might he be lying to me when he promises me a free in vitro fertilization treatment?
I don't know, Magas. Could he be lying to us? Could he be lying to you?
And on and on. He made all kinds of ridiculous promises to everyone he could think of to make ridiculous promises to. He just wanted their damn votes. He even friggin' told them. He said, I don't care about you. I just want your vote. And after this, just vote for me this one time and you never have to vote again. A man who...
Yes, he did say that. It's on tape. Y'all just goofy and ain't seen it. It was on tape. On tape.
said he was going to be a dictator. All of this, and the freaking idiots in this country voted for this criminal who they saw incite a violent insurrection against the country on live freaking TV. This man who had committed greater crimes against this country than any man in history. And they reelect him. And in so doing, They allowed him and all of his criminal co-conspirators to get away with their crimes. And by doing that, the idiots in this country who voted for this criminal have done more damage to this country than they are responsible for this. You know, it's more than what just Donald Trump is doing right now. It's more than him destroying the Constitution, violating people's fundamental rights, all of that. Beyond all of that,
None of that matters to the maggots. The only thing they care about is owning the libs. They don't care about their country. They don't care anything about their country. They just care about owning the libs.
they affirmatively voted to let Donald Trump get away with his crimes. Now, maybe they were too stupid to realize that that's what they were voting for, that they were
That's what I think.
voting to pardon all of these criminals and all of the people, all the January 6th insurrectionists who got their pardons on day one. Maybe they're too stupid to realize that that's what they were voting for, but that's what they were voting for. And to let those criminals who engaged in the worst act of treason against this country, maybe it's not technically treason, but it is the worst crimes ever committed against this country by any president, by any politician. And he and all his voting to let him and all of his co-conspirators get away with those crimes against the country.
They let him get away with it. They love that man. They let a criminal run our country into the ground. He let criminals run our country into the ground, headed by this orange thug.
That is doing historic damage. I mean, how do you undo that? There's no undoing these pardons.
I don't know. We don't know.
When you allow people literally to try to overthrow the country, and then you vote to let them all get away with it and say, you know what? That's fine. You can do that and you can get away with it. You can do that and you can get reelected. Doing that does more damage, arguably, to this country than just about anything else that is going on right now. Because as bad as a lot of the things that Trump is doing are, a lot of those things can be undone. Maybe not all the damage, but the policies. A lot of those things can be repealed and in other ways corrected. But these pardons, the fact that these people have now completely gotten away with their crimes, of course, Donald Trump getting away with his crimes, that can never be undone. And the damage that did can never be undone. And that damage was done by the American people. Those who voted for him and those who couldn't even be bothered to get off their fat, lazy asses to even bother voting when a literal insurrectionist was on the ballot. That damage can never be undone. Anyways, infuriating. Thanks for watching.
Infuriating. You're right. You are right on that, Tevin Willis. This guy that is running our country is a clown. That's the problem. A clown. And there is nothing we can do about it except stay the course. And stay the course we will come next November. We will definitely stay the course, because we will have our country restored. Here we go. Uno momento. Let's do the Epstein files, shall we? Let's go. Let's listen to this tale.
A reporter named David Schuster revealed that multiple Republican House members have heard from their contacts at the Department of Justice and the FBI that the Epstein files are actually far worse than previously thought, that they're worse than the alleged photos of Trump with nude girls that Michael Wolff reported on, the ones that Pam Bondi refused to deny the existence of during her congressional testimony. Far worse than that. And that at least 100 House Republicans are ready to vote yes on the release of the Epstein files, not the discharge petition, but the vote that would follow. They want to vote yes so that they can get out ahead of what's coming. I've spoken to multiple verified sources on the condition of anonymity that actually participated in the review of the Epstein files this past March. And I can confirm that what's in the files is much worse. I wrote it up this past July on Substack, and I reached out to my sources again after this news came out from David Schuster. I can also confirm through sources, again, who wish to remain anonymous for fear of retribution, that the files were accessible to multitudes of FBI and Department of Justice personnel because of how they were stored. There was a lack of permission control. Everyone had access in those units. Trump, Bondi, and Patel actually did this to themselves through their carelessness with securing the files. In fact, my sources say they're actually surprised that this hasn't gotten out to Congress sooner. What FBI and DOJ personnel saw was so devastating that some broke down while reviewing them, many having young children the same age as the victims, many being survivors of sexual assault themselves, all being kept in the building on lockdown, not allowed to leave, and forced to sift through mountains of evidence and testimony, photos and videos, all in the name of Kash Patel's pet project, part of which some believe was to politically target the survivors themselves. Many felt they had a duty to protect their coworkers from seeing the contents. And many believed they had the duty to protect the survivors from retribution. And with all the FBI and Department of Justice eyes on these unsecure files, it is no wonder Republicans in the House with contacts in both of these agencies are aware of the full scope of the content of the files and how many times Donald Trump appears in them.
How is that ironic? I don't even know your name. God, SRE or whatever. I know you're not over here caping for rich men who gave your money to other rich men. I know you as a poor person is not over here caping for rich men who took your money, who scammed you out of your money and gave your money to other rich men. I just know you're not that big of an idiot to be over here caping for rich men when you're a poor person.
We know he is. Pam Bondi said he was. So did Kash Patel. So we'll discuss what I learned from people actually assigned to review the Epstein files and more on this episode of The Breakdown. Hey everybody, I'm Allison Gill. Welcome to The Breakdown. This past summer, a whistleblower reached out to Senator Durbin's office, prompting him to write a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi. That whistleblower had said that Bondi pressured the FBI to put over 1,000 personnel from the FBI's Information Management Division, the IMD, and from the FBI's Records and Information Dissemination Section, known as RIDS, on a project to review the 100,000 or so Epstein documents and to flag any mentions of Donald Trump. Now, at that point, I personally put out a call to anyone who had been tasked with reviewing the files to reach out to me anonymously. And I got multiple responses. After confirming their identities and verifying their employment using SF50s, these multiple anonymous sources confirmed what was in Senator Durbin's letter. I learned that the 100,000 documents represented over 300,000 pages of material, because many of the documents were multiple pages. The sources confirmed that they were put on 24 and sometimes 48-hour shifts. One source, who wishes to remain anonymous, told me they received an email on March 18th saying, effective immediately, no one is allowed to leave the building. I asked if that was normal and was told, no, it had never happened before. I confirmed that with other sources who have been there for decades. Locked in. I was also told that not only were the 1,000+ analysts told to find mentions of Donald Trump in the files, but they were told to log the occurrences by document number and page number in an Excel spreadsheet. Now, at first, there was a master file spreadsheet that everybody had edit access to, but that quickly changed when the powers that be realized that Excel doesn't play nice when you have at least 1,000 editors trying to make changes. So they divided the spreadsheets up. They also confirmed there was a decent amount of Trump mentions in that master file. No one was willing to hazard a guess as to how many, though, which says something in and of itself. But I think what stood out to me the most from my conversations this week and last summer with FBI personnel was the absolute carelessness and chaos of the operation. And the operation itself didn't have an official name, I asked, but it did have some names around the office. It was referred to colloquially by names like the Epstein Project, for one. Many people called it the disaster, and also this bullshit. Now, as it turned out, no permissions were restricted to these files. So the Epstein files sat unprotected on a shared drive that could be accessed by the entire unit. And not just one unit, 4 units across 2 agencies, according to sources. Now, usually, I worked for the government, usually IT takes the time to add permission certificates to specific files for a group of specific people. So like if you wanted to go click on a file on a shared drive and you didn't have permission to view what was in there, it would deny you access. But this operation was so hastily thrown together that they skipped that step completely. Now, initially, it was just RIDS, the Records and Information Dissemination Section, that was reviewing the Epstein files. Those folks are actually trained, well-trained, on how to redact files properly, to protect people's privacy and PPI, to release things under the Freedom of Information Act. But because Patel and Bondi wanted this faster, initially I'm told they wanted to wrap this up in 1 or 2 days back in March. It ended up going on for weeks because of their ineptitude. But because they wanted it fast, they put at least 1,000 people from IMD on it. But IMD didn't have the same Freedom of Information Act request training as RIDS. So what the Department of Justice did.
This is a woman. This is from the Midas Touch. You ever heard of the Midas Touch? The Midas Touch, the Midas Touch network, 5 million subscribers. It's the number one broadcasting news show on the internet. She's reporting from the Midas Touch. So yeah, I believe her. They pretty much are very much guaranteed.
Is they actually created training videos and disseminated them embedded in PowerPoint decks that were also stored on that shared drive without restricted permissions and on unclassified networks. Additionally, toward the end of the Epstein project, several Department of Justice lawyers were deployed to oversee the review within the FBI. That's according to two sources, again, who spoke on the condition of anonymity. There were also at least 2 units in the Department of Justice, Main Justice, with unrestricted access. And the instructions about what to find and flag changed on a daily and sometimes hourly basis. So these analysts would have to repeatedly start the review all over again. This is what made it go on for as long as it did. They kept changing their minds about what they wanted flagged and recorded and logged and marked for redaction. One analyst told me that, you know, they spent more time waiting for new instructions sometimes than reviewing the files. The entire process was described to me in many ways. A lot of people called it a clusterfuck. One person said they were in full panic mode. They called it a disaster, especially for the privacy of the victims. That was one of the main concerns of the analysts that were reviewing these files. Kash Patel actually wanted the entirety of the files unredacted to himself, for himself. And many bristled at that and objected loudly because it was assumed he had an ulterior motive, that he wanted to reveal the identities of the victims to Trump allies. A smear tactic, right? So with as many eyes on the Epstein files, it was inevitable that what was being seen would be spread around the office like wildfire. According to sources, there were people who had to stop, get up, walk around, take breaks, because the videos and photos they were seeing were absolutely gut-wrenching. One source witnessed an agent with young children nearly break down at what they were forced to review. The files were generically marked, so you actually didn't know what you were about to see when you open them. They'd go through this. Then they would be told to stop. They would get all new instructions about what to flag, and they'd have to go back and start over again. But in their haste and carelessness, Patel and Bondi allowed access to the Epstein files to at least 1,000 people at the Department of Justice and the FBI across, I can confirm through sources, at least 4 different units. So it's no wonder that Republican House reps with contacts in the FBI and the Department of Justice are familiar with what's in the files, given the number of eyes on them. And the people I spoke to confirm that what's in the files is, as many House Republicans fear, far worse than previously thought. One source described hours and hours of videos of yacht parties and photo shoots and massages of clearly underage models, countless pictures of men unknown to them. I asked, they said they didn't recognize many of them, with photos of them with nude underage girls and models, videos, just hours and hours. These reports also explain why House Speaker Mike Johnson refuses to swear in Adelita Grijalva. Because once that discharge petition moves, a vote is forced in 7 days. And David Schuster reports that at least 100 Republicans want to vote yes to release because their pals at the FBI and the Department of Justice, who have seen these files because they were unrestricted to anyone in those units, the analysts spending days, 24, 48-hour shifts, forced to review and repeatedly start over. Those agents have told them what's in the files, and that there's no hiding from what's in them once they come out. Now, at one point, a source said they were told to mark for redaction anything explicit, but that instruction was dropped when they realized that was an exercise in futility. Another source said they understood they were trying to protect the privacy of Trump's friends over the privacy of the survivors. A higher up said, quote, "We don't want to surprise."
What does underage mean to me? 16. Anything under 17. 17 and under. That's underage.
Anyone. Meaning the perpetrators, not the survivors. Quote, "This is apparently adding to the expectation that once Rep. Grijalva is sworn in and signs the Massey discharge petition, triggering a House vote 7 legislative days later, more than 100 plus Republicans will vote with all the Democrats to release the files to get in front of what's coming," unquote.
That's all they need is for the House to convene. The House has to come back from vacation. That is the reason why Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, has not convened the House. Because he knows when he comes back to convene the House, the young lady Guevara, who is a Democrat, who has not been sworn in, it's been 40-some days since she won her election, and Mike Johnson has not sworn her in. Once she is sworn in, she will be signing the petition to release the Epstein files, and the Epstein files have more damaging material in it than even we know. Donald Trump is definitely in those files. That is why Mike Johnson will not convene the House. The House has been out on vacation since July. That has never happened in the history of the House ever. But he knows as soon as he convenes, that girl is going to show up to be sworn in. This is why we have not seen the Epstein's files. They've already offset. No, they haven't offset it. That ain't offset. The only offset that could come is if somebody wins Oklahoma, and even they won't even win the Oklahoma representative. There's no way they can stop her from getting in there. No way.
Had Patel and Bondi kept the review close hold, or just at RIDS, which is a much smaller unit, there wouldn't be hundreds and hundreds of people with knowledge of what's in these files. They did this to themselves. And Mike Johnson refusing to swear in Grijalva is not the only thing they're using the shutdown for as an excuse to protect Trump and others in the files. Those training videos I mentioned, the ones that explain how to find and log mentions of Donald Trump specifically in the Epstein files, I filed a Freedom of Information Act request on behalf of MSW Media for those training videos, and I'm suing the Department of Justice to hand them over. But we're being told that because of the shutdown, FOIA is not available. And the courts are on hiatus from FOIA cases as well. This shutdown is about protecting Trump from the release of the Epstein files. And everything else, like SNAP and the Affordable Care Act subsidies and mass layoffs, are all casualties of this effort that people like Russ Vought are trying to exploit in order to protect pedophiles. And Mike Johnson is going to continue to do everything he can to protect Donald Trump. And this week, House Democrats want to interview the Andrew, formerly known as Prince, to get a better understanding of the scope of the Epstein files. This thing isn't just going to go away. Now, add to this that Mike Johnson and elected Republicans, people who have to get reelected, are reeling from Tuesday's shellacking in the 2025 elections. Not only is the House majority in massive jeopardy in 2026, but Democrats won so hard on Tuesday that people now believe the Senate might actually be in play. Democrats ran the board, and they ran the board on affordability and democracy. The affordability part is really hard for Republicans to lie about, but they're trying. Now, Trump is on a mission to convince people to reject the evidence of their eyes and ears because prices are actually going down. And we're all crazy if we think otherwise. He's even convinced Walmart to take a Thanksgiving family meal deal, reduce it by 4 people, use cheaper brands, so that he can say prices are going down.
Our energy costs are way down. Our groceries are way down. Everything is way down. And the press doesn't report it. The press.
If they ain't legal, that's you a pedo. If they ain't legal, you a pedo. In most states, you got to be 18 to be legal. What are you talking about, Black America?
Reports whatever the con people say. You know, I call the Democrats con men and women. They make up numbers. But when you look at 25% reduction in costs for Thanksgiving between Biden and me, meaning this administration, that's a tremendous number. It's the biggest reduction in cost in the history of that chart or whatever it is they do. That they do a synopsis of everything. They cover every element of Thanksgiving meals. 25% down. So I don't want to hear about the affordability.
Don't talk to me about affordability. Well, that's a winning message. I hope that clip is in every single Democratic ad next year.
The whole point is legal. There's two different. Wait a minute. How do I put this? There's legally, and then there's morally. Are you trying to convince me that it's moral? Because ain't nobody going for that. Legally, all day. But as a grown man, you should know a kid from a woman.
Well, Mike Johnson is taking a different tack. He's acknowledging prices are going up. He has to get reelected. But he's saying it's totes normal. Watch this.
But food prices themselves have still been going up. Grocery prices are still going up. How do you measure?
Yeah, but the USDA has reported, and all of the economists have shown, food prices always go up. There's an inflationary level that's built into grocery prices, but they're going up at a much slower pace. In other words, the economic policies, even though all the provisions of the Working Families Tax Cut have not yet been implemented, that's going to make a dramatic effect. It's going to be like jet fuel to the economy. We have all these pro-growth policies that will bring down costs, increase wages, increase jobs, and more access to the economic rung so that more people can climb up the ladder.
You know what could end this all right now, fellas? Agreeing to stop starving us until we agree to let you gut our health care. Most Republicans want to do that because this is terrible for their election prospects, as evidenced by what happened last Tuesday. And because 79% of Americans want the Affordable Care Act subsidies extended, including 59% of Republicans, Republicans in Congress would like nothing more, but they can't. Because if they open the government, the Epstein files could come out. That's their Alamo. If they open the government, court cases like my lawsuit to get the Epstein files training videos are all back on track. Democracy Forward's Freedom of Information Act lawsuit to get all of the Epstein files, it all goes forward. If they could find a way to fund ACA subsidies and keep the government closed, they would, but they can't. Because once the ACA subsidies are funded in the Senate, the House has to come in and work, which they haven't done for weeks now. And once the ACA subsidies are funded, Dems will vote to reopen the government. This week, Dems backed the Republicans into a corner on this. They offered a clean CR if they would also extend the ACA subsidies for a year. And Republicans said no. Dems were bolstered to offer that bluff to them, given what we did for them on Tuesday, the voters. We gave them that card to play, and they played it. And the Republicans took the bait. The shutdown has always been on them, but now it's undeniably on them. They refused just a clean CR with extending Affordable Care Act credits for a year. They refused that. Now Trump is asking Senate Republicans to nuke the filibuster to open the government, probably hoping to fund SNAP and the Affordable Care Act subsidies without having to swear in Grijalva. Because the Senate, if they nuke the filibuster, can pass the already House-passed continuing resolution without having to reconvene the House. But like I said, if they want to add the ACA, the House has to vote on it. And those expire January 1st. The House has to vote on that, whether it's part of a continuing resolution or in a separate bill.
Their children, legally, they can be considered, legally, people might, like Black America said, 16 is legal. I don't give a shit if it's legal. It ain't moral. No man over the age of 21 should be touching no 16-year-old. I don't give a damn how old he is or what he think it is, or whether it's legal in Mississippi or legal wherever. That's the reason why people go to jail for that shit. And Trump and them are on Trump and all of them are on camera with those young girls. You know how I know it's true is because Prince Charles is starting to strip Prince Andrew of his titles and shit like that. Because he brought shame to the freaking crown. And Epstein went to jail because of it. So, no, in nobody's eyes is 15 or 16 a girl or an adult person. I don't give a damn what you say.
Now, some are saying Mike Johnson is waiting until December 2nd, when there's a special election in Tennessee's 7th district. And if the Republican wins, it could cancel out Adelita Grijalva's vote. But that's not the case. That won't make a difference. The majority is half the House plus one. That's 218, regardless of how this new Republican votes. Grijalva will be 218. No new Republican members can counter her signature on the discharge petition. The only way out is for someone to unsign the discharge petition. I reached out to some experts, and you can unsign a discharge petition.
That's the only way that this will not go through, is if somebody unsigns the petition for the Epstein files to be released. To unsign. Marjorie Taylor Greene gonna sign them mugs, so y'all burnt up. She gonna make sure that they go through.
Imagine Mike Johnson is working over those 4 Republicans, offering them God knows what in a desperate attempt to get one of them to remove their name so we can open the government, fund the ACA subsidies, fund SNAP, without having to worry about the discharge petition. But he's just delaying the inevitable. Unless they plan on refusing to swear her in until the end of next year, which, let's be honest, sounds ridiculous, which makes it entirely possible for this Republican Party. This week, however, a judge in Rhode Island ordered the Trump administration to pay November SNAP benefits under the law, using the reserve money designated for this exact scenario, congressionally appropriated funds of our taxpayer dollars to cover SNAP benefits during a shutdown.
I don't understand what's going on with the Republicans. Can somebody explain it to me? You have a bombshell in your backyard. The Epstein files is the bombshell. Unless you can contain that somehow, some way, that's about to blow up in people's faces. The ACA and all of those subsidies are about to go skyrocket on folks. How you going to explain the subsidies going skyrocket? Because everybody know that the Republicans were supposed to renew them and they didn't. They're about to go skyrocket. I don't understand. How do you call yourself how you all call yourself being, this is the one thing I don't like about Republicans. You always do not know how to govern. You do not know how to treat your people accordingly. It always comes out of your mouth, tax cuts, tax cuts, tax cuts. That does nothing for the regular, everyday, average person. And you know who these subsidies affect? These ACA subsidies affect the poor people. The people, the working poor. The people that work at Walmart. People work at the gas station. The people that don't work regular, average, everyday jobs that offer insurance. And they make just a little bit above being poor. So they in between, which means they need to get their medical coverage from somewhere. So they get their coverage from the ACA. This is working poor people. So what is all them working poor people supposed to do when they don't have no damn medical? They don't have a job that offers medical. Walmart don't offer medical. Jobs like that. So what is these people supposed to do when those subsidies go skyrocket? Them people can't afford them subsidies. Them people can't afford them medical. So they just sentence those people, some of those people, just to be sick and just to die, just get broke up. And the worst part about it is the Republicans voted for the medical bills to be put back on your credit report. So you get a medical bill, it got to go back on your credit report. That's wild to me. And you can't get people to see that at all. It's on your medical report. It's on your regular report from here on out.
The Judge McConnell, also accused the Trump administration of withholding SNAP benefits for political reasons, citing statements by Trump earlier this week in which he said the food stamp funds would only be released, quote, when the radical left Democrats open up government, which they can easily do, and not before.
Y'all see the demographic that they hurt, right? You see the demographic that they hurt. Even if we talking about medical insurance, Black America. We're not talking about nothing else. We're talking about medical insurance. They don't make enough money to get medical insurance. That ACA was their medical insurance for the people who make between 15,000 and 30,000 and 35,000, I guess. That's the people who used to get the ACA. But once those ACA payments go from 150 to going to 450, all those people gonna drop out of that medical. All those people gonna drop out of the ACA. See, it's all by design. The Republicans did it all by design. Just to let the people die. That's all.
But what did Trump do instead of following the law and following the court order to feed the hungry? He appealed Judge McConnell's order. But not until after the U.S. Department of Agriculture notified states that it would fulfill obligations to fully fund SNAP in November, just hours after the Trump administration appealed the ruling requiring the payments be made. Late Friday, that appeals court, the First Circuit, denied Trump's bid anyhow. And then Trump appealed that to the Supreme Court. CBS reports the Justice Department on Friday asked the Supreme Court to freeze a lower court order that requires the Trump administration to swiftly provide full federal food benefits to roughly 42 million Americans, turning to the High Court for emergency relief shortly after a federal appeals court left the decision in place. Trump's argument? He says he's afraid that if he accidentally feeds the hungry and it turns out he didn't have to, it'll be hard to get that money back. It'll be hard to snatch the food back out of their mouths. Our money appropriated by Congress to feed the hungry in the event of a shutdown. He thinks it's his. I have never seen a man, a leader, fight so hard to starve children and veterans and people and active duty service members. 42 million people rely on SNAP benefits, which shouldn't be seen as a handout to anyone other than corporations who refuse to pay a living wage. And rather than let the decision go to her conservative colleagues on the Supreme Court, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, the justice who sits atop administrative functions in the First Circuit, where Rhode Island is, took it upon herself to issue a temporary administrative stay, forcing the appeals court, First Circuit, to act quickly and making it harder for her oligarch colleagues on the Supreme Court to more permanently stop SNAP funding. So while we're in the lurch for a little while, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson might have prevented a more permanent block to food assistance. We'll see how the appeals court responds. But the bottom line here is that Republicans who have to get reelected are terrified, and they should be. And that brings us to the up notes, because, as you know, I always like to end the breakdown on an up note. As I mentioned Tuesday,
Those people are there's still going to be people who need the insurance, Black America. Somebody is just going to take their place. So it's always going to be a need for the insurance. You keep saying, get a job, get a job. There's going to be somebody to take that place.
Democrats
want all of us having it. It ain't a matter of all of us being up here making hundreds of thousands of dollars. That ain't never going to happen. There's always going to be poor people. Always going to be poor people growing up, 18, getting into the workforce, not having insurance. Got to get insurance. Always people that are going to need that ACA, Black America. So that's a disingenuous statement, what you just said.
Across the board, from New York City to New Jersey, and a trifecta in Virginia, winning the governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general races. And they flipped 13 Virginia state seats. Dems won ballot measures in Maine for voting rights and red flag gun laws. We held all 3 Pennsylvania Supreme Court seats protecting voting rights in Pennsylvania in 2026 and beyond, and also reproductive rights in that state. We won Prop 50 by a landslide in California. Over 12 million people came out to vote or used the mail-in ballot system that we now have. That's more than came out in the 2022 midterms. And now Wes Moore in Maryland is looking at redistricting there. Republicans can't win on policy. And we're still having free and fair elections. And we, the people, are also fighting back on grand juries and trial juries.
An individual went up to one of the federal law enforcement officers and started jumping up and down, screaming at him, berating him, yelling at him. And then he took a Subway sandwich about this big and took it and threw it at the officer. He thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony, assault on a police officer. And we're going to back the police to the hilt. So there, stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else.
No, you stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else, Judge Box of Wine. Not only did a grand jury of the people refuse to return a felony indictment against sandwich guy Sean Dunn, a trial jury this week unanimously acquitted him on the single ridiculous misdemeanor simple assault charge. I don't know if this is jury nullification, which is where the jury knows he committed a crime, but according to the law, but refuses to convict anyway, or whether they found that this was an assault because there was reasonable doubt that the Customs and Border Protection officer, Mr. Larimore, was actually the victim of an offensive touch by a footlong. And the reason that could be in doubt is because he actually had a stuffed Sando plushie in his cubicle at work and a felony footlong patch on his lunchbox, indicating he thinks it's as hilarious as we do. Oh, incidentally, if you're watching this and you were on the sandwich guy jury, please reach out to me on Signal. You can find my Signal contact information in my Blue Sky bio. Reach out and let me know if it was jury nullification. I will keep you anonymous. And everybody share this video with everybody that you know, especially in the DC area that might have been on the sandwich guy jury. And while the sandwich guy trial was hilarious, and thanks to Molly Roberts at Lawfare for her coverage, there were questions like, do you recognize that sandwich? You can't handle the truth. It was comedy gold. And there were differences over whether the sandwich exploded when it hit Laramore's ballistic vest, prompting me to post, if the sub didn't split, you must have quit. That sandwich remained in its wrapper, did it not? And while that's all hilarious, it's actually really important. It's an important outcome that 12 of us unanimously said no to trumped-up charges over assaults, alleged assaults against ICE and Customs and Border Protection. Because it's happening everywhere. Grand juries and trial juries comprised of Americans refusing to indict and convict our friends and neighbors in the face of a government that continues to lie in court, fabricate evidence, destroy evidence, lie in press releases, all in an effort to justify deploying the military against us. We are the last line of defense against the bullshit. And we're taking that job very seriously. We had Sidney Reed. 3 grand juries refused to indict her on felony charges and then acquitted her in a jury trial for a misdemeanor. We have Miramar Martinez, who's about to go to trial in a case against her that's poised to fall apart because agents lied and destroyed evidence. We have the jury acquitting Ramos Brito after Timu Himmler, Greg Bavino, now de facto head of ICE and Customs and Border Protection.
That definitely would be a question, wouldn't it, Sassy? Why are they asking him to do that? Why?
Lied on the stand about what he saw. And we learned this week he lied under oath in Judge Ellis's courtroom in Chicago. The courts are no longer taking the government at their word. And they haven't for months now. This week, Judge Ellis in Chicago issued a preliminary injunction. That's a more permanent and expanded version of her earlier temporary restraining order, barring federal agents in Chicago from deploying tear gas, using riot control tactics without multiple verbal warnings. She ordered Greg Bovino to get a body-worn camera. He has now submitted a notice to the court that he has one and he's been trained. He required them customs body-worn cameras for all Customs and Border Protection agents. She ordered the feds to put identifying badge numbers on at least 2 conspicuous places on their uniforms. She told them, you can't disperse a crowd or move a journalist unless there's imminent danger to another person. Judge Ellis says the government's version of these events is simply not credible. And as it turned out, Bovino admitted he lied when he said he deployed tear gas without warning because someone threw a rock at him. No one threw a rock at him. He lied. And Judge Ellis caught him. Another upnote, Judge Immergut has turned her temporary restraining order into a permanent injunction in the case blocking Hegseth from deploying the National Guard in Oregon, in Portland. Quote, after analyzing these statutory provisions as applied to the facts in this case, this court arrives at the necessary conclusion that there was neither a rebellion or danger of a rebellion, nor was the president unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States in Oregon when he ordered the federalization and deployment of the National Guard.
They just be going to court to lie because they want to turn they want to turn them off. They want to turn the military onto the streets. They just lie.
Under 10 U.S. Code, Section 12406. Now, Judge Immergut, a Trump appointee, continues. The precise standard to demarcate the line past which conditions would satisfy the statutory standard to deploy the military in the streets of American cities is ultimately a question for a higher court to decide. But based on this court's application of a case called Newsom, to the factual findings at trial and the meaning of 10 U.S. Code Section 12406 in light of history and tradition, this court finds that wherever the line precisely
Yes, he pardoned all of those January 6th. He pardoned all of those people
is,
that got him, that did what is it? They all tried to frame the election, falsify the delegates, or overturn the election 2020. He pardoned all of them. That's how I know the people that are working for him now, they also gonna go to prison. But then they ain't gonna be able to get pardoned because Trump is gonna be out of office unless he does a pardon before they get out of office, or you know, like Biden did to his son, or he did to other people. The whole point was all of those people had sentences because they broke the law. Yeah, like Biden, they hadn't been. Yeah, but the shitty ass president would have put charges on him. So the whole point is, he's probably gone. There's nobody said that. But see, here's the thing, Robin. None of the people that Biden preemptively pardoned were guilty of anything. These people that Trump just pardoned were guilty, were found guilty in a court of law.
the government has failed to clear it. Therefore,
Bannon said it. He said, yeah, you heard me last night. Y'all saw what I did last night, right? Y'all saw what I did, right? What's this?
Lose the midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included. They're not going to stop.
Why would he say that? Let's do it again for the goofies.
The midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included.
My question is, why would he say that? Why would he have the need to say that if there ain't some corrupt people that are working in his administration right now? Why would he have the need to say that? Oh shit. Wrong thing. Sorry, y'all. Wrong thing. Why wouldn't he say that? Because he already knows that they have been breaking the law. He knows they have been breaking the law. They have been breaking the law and they are continuing to break the law. There's no Democrats in charge on that Tevin Willis. There's nobody in charge. There's no Democrats in charge. So you're just talking crazy. That guy, Bannon, he knows what he's talking about. That's one of y'all guys. You talk to your guy. Your guy said that. None of us said that. Your guy said that. Ain't none of our people went to jail for corruption. Name one in the Biden administration that had anything close to Biden. Name one. Name one. You can't name one, so shut up. Nobody in Biden's administration went to prison. Not one. You ain't named one. Stop it. Although a whole bunch went to prison in Trump's administration, not one. You just reaching.
for all the reasons stated below, this court permanently enjoins defendants' orders to deploy federalized members of the National Guard to Oregon. Now, the Chicago National Guard case over in Chicago, that's before the Supreme Court. We know that. I talked about that on the breakdown here last week on the Midas Touch Network. The Supreme Court has given the parties until November 17th to define regular forces, remember? So we'll wait and see what's going to happen there, but I think that case will go to the Supreme Court before the Oregon one does. Some more good news. Remember the huge propaganda campaign still going on from this government to lay blame for the shutdown on Democrats? It included mailers. It included Kristi Noem videos being played at airports to captive audiences in line for security. They have pop-ups on government websites. Huge propaganda campaign to blame the Democrats, which isn't working according to polling. But that also included the government going in and changing furloughed government employees out of office email replies to include language blaming the Democrats for the shutdown. Now, multiple federal employees with the AFGE, that's a federal government union, sued. Multiple. Sued the Department of Education for doing that. And this weekend, a federal judge permanently blocked the government from using furloughed employee email accounts to send partisan messages. Quote, the court concludes that it has jurisdiction over AFGE's claim and that the department has infringed upon its employees' First Amendment rights. Nonpartisanship is the bedrock of the federal civil service. It ensures that career government employees serve the public, not the politicians. But by commandeering its employees' email accounts to broadcast partisan messages, the department chisels away at that foundation.
On that, Tevis, that's wild. Democrats weaponize the system to attack their political opponents. Now, you know that's a lie. You know that's a lie. With your president doing the stuff he doing by attacking Comey and attacking Tisha James. You know that's a lie. Stop it. Trump, and what is the freedom of the press, all of those people, you know that's a lie.
Now, political officials are free to blame whomever they wish for the shutdown, but they cannot.
I don't know what they're doing on military bases. They know something that we don't. I do know that. They know something that we don't. We just got to figure out what it is. I ain't figured it out yet. I've been trying to figure out why would they go on military base. I believe what he gonna do is he gonna try to deploy the National Guard all over the United States. Okay, all over the United States. I think that's what it is. For some reason, he's gonna deploy National Guard all over the United States. I don't know what it is, but it's something, because don't nobody need to be on no damn military bases.
Use rank and file civil servants as their unwilling spokespeople. The First Amendment
ain't nobody tried to kill Trump. You delusional, and so is your boss.
Stands in their way. The department's conduct, therefore, must cease. That's Judge Christopher Cooper, an Obama appointee in the District Court for the District of Columbia. And finally, could we be a step closer to seeing the secret Jack Smith report on Trump's classified documents case, Volume 2 of his final report that was never released? Are we a step closer to seeing that?
Yeah, let's see that.
Back in July of 2024, Judge Eileen Cannon dismissed the documents case against Trump, citing Justice Thomas in his immunity decision concurrence, saying Jack Smith wasn't appointed lawfully, which is kind of hilarious given the Lindsey Halligan shenanigans. Now, Jack Smith appealed that.
Ain't no Democrats try to kill President Trump. Stop it. It's always been your white boys on y'all side who've been doing some dumb shit.
But we never got the result of that appeal because Trump won the election. And on January 21st, 2025, the day after Trump was sworn in, Judge Cannon issued an injunction blocking the release of Volume 2 of Jack Smith's final report.
Yeah, that's another thing we need to see, is Jack Smith's final report. That tells all the tale
about the classified documents. Now, she did so.
You have Democrat deranged syndrome. You're a zombie, Kevin Willis, a zombie.
Because, as she says, the cases against Trump's co-conspirators, Walt Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira, were still active. And you can't release evidence against people who could still be convicted. But in February, Trump's Justice Department dropped those cases. And they said they don't intend to ever bring charges again. So the Knight Institute at Columbia University, a nonprofit, filed a Freedom of Information Act request for Volume 2, saying that since the cases against Nauta and Oliveira are dropped, there's nothing stopping the release of Volume 2. It's in the public.
You're a zombie, Kevin Willis, a zombie.
Public interest. It's in the interest of transparency. Isn't this the most transparent government ever? Well, the Department of Justice under Trump denied their Freedom of Information Act request, citing Judge Cannon's still active injunction blocking the release. So they filed a motion to intervene on her docket. They asked her to vacate her injunction. Hey, Nauta and Oliveira are done. There's no reason for your injunction. Vacate it, please.
How do you say that? How do you say that? Huh? Kevin Willis, how do you say that? You Republicans are the most anti-immigrant, anti-trans, anti-gay, anti-abortion, anti-black, anti-white, anti-brown. You are the most anti-group there is. Where the hell, and none of that is God-like or Christian-like. Don't come over here talking about the Republicans are more God-like or Christian-like when you guys don't have nothing but hate in y'all's speech. Every time you open your mouth, evil. Democrats like gays, trans, brown people, immigrants, borders, illegal aliens. That's all y'all got is hate. Y'all ain't nowhere near no Christians. Stop it. We're more Christian than you all are or ever will be. Y'all just fake Christians because you don't do nothing that God put you on the earth to do. Not one thing except hate, hate, hate. You don't have nothing but hate to talk about. First thing you did right now was call me evil. Democrats are criminal. Democrats are evil. We have evil policy. We evil. Trans, gays, you name it. Evil, evil, evil. Y'all the least Christian people on this planet. Stop it. You don't hear none of us over here calling y'all evil and unchristian like. We don't never call y'all names like that. The first thing out of y'all mouth is evil Democrats, evil this, hate trans, hate gays, hate immigrants, hate illegal, hate. That's all y'all do is hate. Y'all don't stand on nothing. Y'all don't stand on nothing, Robin. Y'all don't stand on nothing but hate. Y'all don't stand on nothing but hate. Get the hell out of here talking about y'all Christian. Y'all ain't Christian nothing. Fake Christians.
And there it sat. And still sits. Since February. For 8 months. She's done nothing. So last month, the Knight Institute filed a petition for a writ of mandamus with the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. That's a court above Judge Cannon. And this week, a 3-judge panel gave Cannon 60 days to rule on the Knight Institute's motion to vacate her injunction, or else. Now, if Judge Cannon denies their motion, which I imagine she will, probably on day 60 at 11:59 p.m., which is January 2nd, if we're talking calendar days. If she denies it, that frees up the Knight Institute to appeal to this 3-judge panel of the 11th Circuit, 2 Democrats, well, 2 judges appointed by Democrats, 1 appointed by a Republican. So we are one step closer to getting Volume 2 of Jack Smith's final report. And we'll keep you posted. Also, for daily news with swearing, all of your news needs, you can subscribe.
And we definitely want to see that final report of Jack Smith. The final report describes all of Trump's evil doings, all of the things that he did, that they had him dead to rights on. They had him dead to rights. They had Trump dead to rights. They had all of his the bad news. Okay. What does Jack Smith final report? Hold on. Report have any. So we will see. Democrats enforce Jim Crow laws. Why you keep what wait a minute, is that in 2020? Is that 2020? What the hell? What the hell are you talking about? Look at the Democrats want to pay reparations for what they did. Are you crazy, Robin? Are y'all mad? I swear to God, y'all be hurting people's head with this zombie shit. Let me see. Some of y'all don't even be making sense. Wait a minute, come on. What is this? Come on. Some of y'all don't even be making sense. Just be talking. And the first they the first ones in the room. The first ones in the room talking about hate. And then look the Democrats in the eyeball and then make up shit about Democrats. Just make shit up. Okay. Volume 1 of what is it? She was talking about Jack Smith. If y'all don't know who Jack Smith is a special prosecutor who was assigned to prosecute Trump for the insurrection on Jan 6. Okay. Because you goofies, you zombies, got him to admit that he was going to release the files when he got elected. And when he got elected, he thought y'all forgot about those files. He thought everybody forgot about the Epstein files. But everybody didn't forget about the Epstein files. And now he knows that he's in those Epstein files. He knows he was one of those men that were messing with young girls. He knows that. There you go again. There they go again in the chat calling people socialist. That's how they do. They try to call you names like you the one that's the problem. Anyway, Jack Smith is, they came up with plenty. They were going to arrest him. The first volume, Jack Smith, who was the special counsel investigator, the volume 1 was the report on efforts to interfere with the lawful transfer of power following the 2020 presidential election or the certification of the Electoral College vote held on January 6th. Then the second volume, what was the second volume? Let me see. Volume number, wait a minute, hold on. Okay. That's volume number 1. Volume number 2 addresses the second case. That was the first case. The first case was the effort to interfere with the lawful transfer of power. And the second volume hasn't been released, addresses the second charge of Trump's mishandling of the classified files at Mar-a-Lago and allegedly obstructing the investigation. That's the part that has not been released. Okay. In the volume 1, there was a summary of the factual investigation, how the special counsel's team viewed the evidence, what major events and actors were involved. The legal assessment was, Smith stated that his office believed the admissible evidence was sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction at trial, meaning they had enough evidence to convict Trump. Okay? They had enough evidence to convict Trump. But that case could not go forward because of the DOJ policy against prosecuting a sitting president. A statement of decision-making and prosecutorial judgment, Smith affirms his decision to charge was his own, that he stands fully behind it, and there was no improper interference from political actors. Some details about Trump's false claims of fraud, his communications and actions with state officials, his pressure of the vice president and other actors, and the link to the Capitol riot. Some discussion of the impact, for example, the trauma of law enforcement officers on January 6th. That's how I know that Donald Trump is a piece of shit. He pardoned all of those people that did all of that damage. He pardoned all those people that did all of that damage. That's how much of a piece of shit he is. That's how much a piece of shit that president is. He pardoned all of those people who were found guilty. All of those people, even the people that helped and knew that he lied about the January 6th. He lied about the election being compromised or fraud. That's what most goofies don't understand. Most of you MAGA goofies, you don't understand. He knew that he had lost the election. He just wanted to stir bullshit. He knew it. In private, he said it. In private, he knew he had lost. He just wanted goofies to do whatever they wanted to do out there. He wanted goofies to go out there and do what the goofies did. They don't never, as you can see, they don't never believe the truth. They don't never believe nothing you tell them. The only person that tells the truth is the scammer, the orange scammer with the nice makeup. That's the only person that tells the truth in their world. And that's a sad state of affairs. Because you know, they know it and we know it, that they tried to do that insurrection. They didn't mean to. Just because you didn't start out meaning to run over the Capitol, don't mean you didn't run over the Capitol. That's wild. And that's the thing. I can't wait to vote y'all out. I can't wait to vote y'all out. But let me play this one more time. Let me play this one thing one more time. We got to hear it again.
Lose the midterms and we lose 2028. Some in this room are going to prison, myself included. They're not going to.
He didn't say, did we do anything wrong? He didn't say that. He didn't say nothing. He didn't say nothing about what we did or what we didn't do. He didn't say nothing about what they did and what they didn't do. What he said was, if they lose the election, him and some of them other people that's in that room gonna go to prison. Meaning, he know that they doing illegal shit. Let's play it again.
The midterms and we lose 2028. Some in this room are going to prison, myself included.
I love it. I love it. I can't wait. We can't wait till most of y'all go to prison. Because we can see the illegal shit right now. We can see half the legal shit right now. Deploying the military. The Supreme Court is just about to knock down these dumbass tariffs. Knock down the tariffs. That's illegal. He shouldn't have never did that. Because only Congress should levy tariffs. All pardon. You right. Because they were guilty. He didn't have to pardon people that weren't guilty, did he? Not one person in Biden's administration went to prison because of anything that they did that was illegal. Not one person. Name us one person. But yet and still damn near the whole staff of Donald Trump went to prison. That ought to tell you that if 10 of y'all go to prison, at least 1 or 2 of y'all guilty. Somebody guilty. Somebody guilty. No, we ain't talking about the Democratic Party. We talking about the ones that got pardoned by Trump. We talking about the goofies that got pardoned by Trump. Let's say it again.
We lose the midterms and we lose 2028. Some in this room are going to prison, myself included.
Some of y'all gonna go to prison. Himself included. We can't wait. We can't wait. Because most of them deserve to go to prison. Most of them that are in there deserve to go to prison right now. Right now.
Provide health care or mental health care for your children or for your family just because.
On behalf of Trump. All of them deserve to go to prison. On behalf of Trump. They did the shit for Trump. They deserve to go to prison.
Things had gotten expensive over a period of time.
You don't have
and
no
these were
proof
really
test.
critical
You're delusional
decisions that
You're
were made as
zombie
part of that bill.
You have no proof test.
In addition to the expansion of Medicaid across the country to be able to ensure that more working people had the chance to be able to afford health care. Which brings to mind one of the really unusual, the unusual context in which we have healthcare debates in America, which is that we are the only rich country in the world. We are the only industrialized country among all industrialized countries where healthcare is not a right of citizenship for everyone who lives in that country. And notwithstanding the fact that we have less access to healthcare than any other industrialized country in the world, it costs twice as much in the United States. It costs twice as much for the federal government. It costs twice as much for our society. And most important, it costs twice as much for the people that we represent in our various states, including in the state of Colorado.
Oh shit, I talked to them a little bit crazy. They crashing out. Don't crash out, Robin, Tevin, and Tay Mason. Don't crash out on me, Ruby. Don't crash out on me. Don't crash out on me now. Y'all all talking 2-point crazy. Y'all crashing out. All y'all crashing out, saying wild shit. You notice that they come in here saying wild shit, right? Everything is a lie. Sharia law, delusional. Winners win. They crashing out in here, y'all. Oh Lord, have mercy. They crashing out. That's what y'all maggots do. Crash out. Calm down. Shit. Calm down. I don't need no damn proof. You just heard your MAGA boss say, we going to prison. If the Democrats win the election, we're going to prison. You're going to prison. Y'all better stop crashing out on me, goddammit. Look at it, to healism. They crashing out. They saying all kinds of wild shit. Don't even make no sense. They don't even make no sense.
People in Colorado, as we meet here, are struggling with the cost of housing, the cost.
Y'all need to go talk to y'all side. There was not a blue wave over there the other day for no reason. We had a blue wave, but we had a blue wave of the election because Mexican people, Latino people are running away from you guys. Latino and independents are running away from your side. You guys need it. As much as you guys want to keep people, you need to calm down. Y'all going to the chat and crash out, and people think y'all goofy. Well, half of y'all are goofy, but goofy nonetheless.
Of food, the cost of President Trump's uncertain and
all the maggots is crashing out, saying wild shit.
and unpredictable tariff policy. But they are also continuing to struggle with the cost of health care because we are.
I just told them that Jack Smith, who was the special prosecutor for Donald Trump's case, his case with the 2020 election, Jack Smith had a solid case against the president, but he couldn't bring the case because he had won the election. That's what I told them, and they crashed out on that. You lying. He ain't telling the truth. You don't know what you talking about. Instead of them going, your evidence is on Facebook. On Facebook. You wildin'. All my evidence is on Facebook. That's all you got to do is go to the DOJ records and files and find the charges against Donald Trump. You don't have to believe me. Just go there and find the evidence. Don't crash out my thing and tell me I'm lying. Y'all wild. That's wild.
Spending twice what any other industrialized country.
They said they were going to, listen to this. This is their own dude. This is the MAGA, one of the heads of the maggots. This is one of the heads of the MAGA. Listen.
The midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included. They're not going to stop.
Listen again.
We lose the midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included.
not natural. Why would they say that? If that's one of the leading MAGA people, Steve Bannon, he said it out of his mouth. If the Democrats win, that means some of y'all going to prison, including him. Which begs the question, what are y'all doing that somebody would consider illegal? What are y'all doing on Donald Trump's side that somebody would consider what you all are doing illegal? That's the only question that you need to ask. That's wild. Crashing out because they don't like to accept the truth. It's like they live in an alternate universe, don't want to look up facts. They own MAGA guy right here said it too. Look. What do you say?
The midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included.
He said some of us in this room are going to prison, me included. So what have y'all been doing behind the scenes that the American people don't know about that would make us want to put you in prison? Please explain, crash out MAGAs. Please explain what your top MAGA is talking about. But they don't know because they don't read, don't do no research. I know, but I want to know if they know why they people going to be going to jail. Drop all the names you want. Name one damn person that went to prison and Biden's administration for anything related to what is that Donald Trump and them done did. Please. Yeah, hell yeah. They got fall guys everywhere. They got fall guys and they got the MAGites. MAGites out here trying to convince people that we lying. He pardoned everybody. He pardoned every crook and criminal that got. That's wild. He pardoned every crook and criminal. I don't know when he did it, today or the last week or what. When did he do it? He pardoned all of them. And they admitted to crimes in court. And he still pardoned them. And you still got. So what? That's a president's power to do that. The only difference is Biden pardoned people, so did Trump. But Trump pardoned people who did crimes against the United States. The people Trump pardoned did crimes against the United States. Wow. Only you maggots wouldn't see the difference. Only you maggots wouldn't see the difference.
Presiding officer agrees with that. You can't tell what anything costs. When you show up to fill a prescription, when you're in there.
Tevin Williams, how is it that Biden was a soup can got brains like soup, and yet he was a dictator? Please explain how he can be a soup brain and a dictator at the same time. This is what we want to know. This is what we want to know. Because y'all love to say Biden had brains of soup. How he got brains of soup and he's a dictator too? Please explain. To everyone, you see this crash out, y'all. Rudy B. Moore. To everyone in the chat, please ask HQ why the dumb Democrats she backs can't even stop the weirdos from ruining our kids and illegals. Now Sharia law is coming. You see the crash out, don't y'all, right? Y'all see the zombie, right? The zombie can't even put a good sentence together, for one. For two, we have no idea what you mean by stop the weirdos. We don't even know what that means. Illegals. I thought your boss stopped the illegal. The Democrats ain't in charge. Why would I be worried about the Democrats stopping the illegals? And three, what's Sharia law? What is that? And who's bringing that to the United States? You see the crash out? Y'all see it? Y'all see it? Just saying any old thing. Just saying any old thing, trying to throw shit along the wall, make some points.
Emergency room. We've worked together on the surprise billing issue, which is an important part of this. If you're a senior that's trying to get your prescriptions filled, you go from one pharmacy to the next to the next. I'll never forget, as long as I serve in public office, and probably for my lifetime, the conversation I had with senior citizens in Pueblo, where they basically were telling me that their entire retirement was spent fighting to get prescriptions filled that their doctors had assigned them, prescribed them. Seniors in other countries, in other industrialized countries, don't spend their retirements doing that. Only in the richest country in the world do seniors have to do that. And that's because a lack of transparency, a lack of clarity is built into our healthcare system from top to bottom.
Tell me what industries, Tevin Williams. What did he do? What industry did he try to destroy? Please put it in chat. What industry did he try to destroy?
But we took some important steps in the Affordable Care Act. I wish that it had included a public option. It didn't. I think that the rate of rise of our healthcare inflation would have been a lot less. And by the way, that is what the people that have looked at that bill and scored that bill over the years have said. We've been fighting for it now for a decade and a half. They've said that it would actually save the government money because it would lower health.
He tried to ban gas cars. Ban gas. Now, see, you see how we gonna do this, Tevin? I'm finna look up. I'm finna fact check what you just said. Let me fact check what you just said. Biden tried to ban gas
introduce
cars.
some
Let's
competition
look.
into our insurance market. And I'll say this to the presiding officer, he'd probably be amused by it. This is the one place where I really am a Bolshevik. I believe in universal health care for all Americans. I think we should provide that to people in this country as a right. There is no reason not to do it in the richest country in the world, especially if we can save half of the cost of health care that we're providing now. And families all over my state, all over Colorado, are fighting to get their kid the mental health care that they need, are fighting to get their parents the prescriptions that they have been prescribed, are fighting to hold on to their own health insurance because that also has become less and less affordable over the years.
That's wild.
That is a fight that no one else in the industrialized world.
That's wild. I can't even explain it. I can't even explain this shit. All we know is that you lying. As though he gonna ban gas and then we ain't gonna never be able to see gas ever again. You're lying about that. it's so wild. I can't stand it.
world has to have. And I think it's important to point out that most of the people that I'm talking about, almost all the people that I'm talking about, are working for a living in this country and still can't afford health care, still can't afford the peace of mind that they know that if their kid breaks their leg on a hike or breaks their leg skiing or needs to have the benefit of a mental health counselor, that's something that our safety net provides. Because health care should be a right. It is a right.
Tevin Willis. Can you tell me why he was banning gas? He was trying to ban gas. Can you tell me why he was doing that? Because I want to know if you know what the hell you talking about. I want to know what you talking about. Why was he trying to ban gas? Please explain. Was he trying to ban gas so that we would never have any kind of moving vehicles? Or was he trying to ban gas to do something else? What was he trying to ban gas for? That wasn't against the Constitution, Goofy. Stop saying that. Why was he trying to ban gas?
Right. And whether you get it or not shouldn't be determined on how wealthy you are or where you live, Mr. President.
So what's wrong with electric vehicles? What's wrong with everybody having electric vehicles, Tevin Willis? What's wrong with that? Phasing out gas vehicles and changing everybody to electric vehicles. What's wrong with that?
And I think given the rhetoric that I hear out here sometimes about makers and takers and all that other stuff, it's important to point out that almost all the people that I'm talking about.
No, I'm asking you. What would be wrong with an electric gas car instead of a gas car? So why was he doing that, Tevin Willis? Why was he doing that? Why?
Are working or taking care of children or are retired. We should have a universal health care system in this country.
They be coming up with the wildest shit ever. The wildest shit ever.
But in the meantime, Mr.
I'm still waiting on why he would do that, Tevin Campbell.
President, we shouldn't be making matters
Tevin Willis
worse, which is why this debate is so crazy. When we passed the Affordable Care Act without a single vote from the Republican Party in the House or the Senate, they said that they were going to make President Obama.
No, don't say no goofy shit. Don't say no goofy shit. Stay on track. Why is it that he would wanted us to change over to electric and instead of stay with gas? Why did he want us to change from gas to electric? Stay what that is. Why did he want to do that? Please explain.
Obama a one-term president. They said I was going to lose my Senate seat. In fact, I was asked on national television whether I would lose my Senate seat as a result of my vote on the.
We don't care whether you're in business with China. I asked you a direct question. Why did he want us to change from gas to electric?
Healthcare bill, and I said, if that's the cost of being here for that period of time, it's worth it. I'm happy to lose based on that vote. And they ran ad after ad after ad during that campaign, attacking me for being the 60th vote for the Affordable Care Act. And because I survived and a couple other senators barely survived, we were able to preserve that bill, and 30 million people who would have lost their health insurance in America didn't lose their health insurance. And then the efforts in the House began to repeal the Affordable Care Act. And Mr. President, they voted, I lost count, I think it was 70 times to repeal the Affordable Care Act in the House of Representatives. At least 70 times.
That's okay. That's okay, Tevin Willis. You can't answer it because you have no reason to even bring it up. It's just some goofy shit you MAGAs bring up to distract from the real thing. Don't worry about answering it. You can't answer it because you have no fucking argument about it. You make it seem as though he wanted us to change over to gas to electric because it was gonna harm everybody. No, you didn't answer that. I asked you, why did he want us to change from gas to electric? Why did he want us to change from gas to electric? You didn't answer that.
They never were able to do it. And the longer it was there, the more people came to see the benefits of the insurance protection, came to see the benefits of the expansion in Medicaid, came to see the benefits of at least having a little bit of comfort that they couldn't just throw you off your insurance because they felt like it.
No, what you said was he was a globalist and he was paid off by China. That's not the reason why we needed to go from gas to electric.
And now we have found ourselves in a debate related to the tax credits that so many Americans rely on to make the insurance just a little bit more affordable.
So it couldn't have nothing to do with climate change, couldn't have nothing to do with reducing fossil fuels, couldn't have nothing to do with regulatory alignments, it couldn't have nothing to do with energy security, it couldn't have nothing to do with public health and air, couldn't have nothing to do with none of those, huh? It just had to do with him selling out to the China.
I wouldn't say affordable. I'd say a little bit.
No straight answer out of y'all.
I'd say barely affordable.
Straight answer out of y'all. Your president
But
is
somewhat
a scam,
more
so
affordable. At a
your
moment
president
when
is a
grocery
scam.
prices
So
are what they are, at a moment when rent is what it is, at a moment when we're dealing with the incredible uncertainty that these tariffs are causing, it would seem the least we could do is not make matters worse. The least we could do is extend the benefit, the tax credit, so it's a little bit easier for people to buy insurance for themselves and for their families. But just like, Mr. President, with the passage of the Affordable Care Act, when not a single Republican supported it, just like when they voted 70 times in the House of Representatives, 70 times to repeal the Affordable Care Act.
You said,
during this,
you said, I don't know what a weirdo is. You're a weirdo. That's what a weirdo is. I understand Democrats don't even know what a female is neither. See the sick shit y'all bring over here? Oh, wow. Can't get nothing. We hate trans. We hate gays. We hate black. We hate white. We hate abortion. We hate trans. We hate kids. We hate immigrants. All y'all do is hate, hate, hate. You weirdo MAGAs. That's all you do is come over here and hate, hate, hate. You weirdo MAGAs. That's why people turned away from you guys on Tuesday. Because y'all do that weirdo shit. Oh, you don't know what a girl is. We don't know what women are. We don't know what a man is. We don't like the gays. We don't like the trans. We don't like the weirdos. We don't like the immigrants. Hate, hate, hate. That's why people turned away from you all on Tuesday. Because that's all y'all have is hate. You stand for nothing. You don't have anything that you care about. You don't care about the poor people. You love caping for the rich people. Because that's all I hear you guys do. Talk about the rich people and what they deserve. And then the poor people don't deserve nothing. They need to get off their lazy ass and work. Y'all don't stand for nothing. You MAGAs don't stand for jack shit. You know what HQ stand for? HQ stand for helping the poor, helping the elderly, helping the handicapped, helping the veterans, helping the sick. That's what I believe in helping. I stand on those things. I'll stand with it, whatever party helps those people. Y'all don't stand for nothing. You maggots don't stand for nothing. You come over and the first thing you talk about is do we know what a weirdo person is? Do you guys know what a weirdo trans is? You don't want people to be in your bathroom with your girls, do you? You don't want your dudes that look like girls in sports, do you? That's the first thing y'all come over here talking about. That's the first thing. Y'all the weirdos. And thank God, people turned away from y'all on Tuesday night. Thank God they turned away from y'all on Tuesday night. Because we need better leadership than this. We need better human beings that are in charge than you guys. Better people in charge than you guys. Tom, why the hell you over here? If it's only 5 people over here, 4 people over here, why are you over here? That would be the question. That would be the question. I don't know. I'm never here this time of the day. I just happen to be here this time of the day. You don't need to enlighten me in any way, shape, or form. You guys are maggots. You can't enlighten me on anything. Here, you can't enlighten me on anything. As a matter of fact, you can't enlighten me on nothing. But you know what? You know what can enlighten y'all? This can enlighten y'all.
Terms, and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included.
Say it for the maggots again. Say it for the maggots again.
The midterms, and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included.
Why would y'all be going there? Why would y'all be going? Why would the head MAGA say that some of y'all going to prison? Because it's a corrupt administration. That's the point. That's a corrupt administration. It is what it is. It is what it is. Wait a minute, hold on. Oh shit, it was 1:30. We don't have jails. It's 1:30. But I appreciate y'all. Hit the like or the share or the hate or do whatever. We will be back later for regular scheduled programming. These are all unscheduled programs. We'll be back for regular scheduled programming. We definitely will. At 10 o'clock, we definitely will. We'll be back at 10 o'clock. We definitely will.